They wanted to make sure that the filing for Mr. Greer would go first.
Okay.
So I have no objection to that, obviously. But whenever we're ready to, the friend would be happy to explain its request for motion of venue and case transfer.
All right. Mr. Greer, I think it's your motion for review.
Your Honor, yes, my client has been doing the supervised parenting since the inception, and he has been doing it since late January at the counseling service in White Cloud. I think it's called Harmonized Healing. I've got an update on that. I don't know if Mr. Miller got this or not. It came in Friday afternoon. Do you have it, Mark?
No, I didn't receive anything, John.
All right, I apologize. I'll get this to you.
How often is he doing that parenting time? Is it once a week? I know I said the order said up to.
I believe it's twice a week. Dan, is it twice a week or once a week?
It's twice a week, Your Honor.
Okay, 2 times a week. It's been very consistent. Marcy, we need to email that to everybody. Sorry. But it's been twice a week. And it looks like it's been going pretty well.
Just an hour each time?
Yeah,
or how
an
long?
hour. That's all they do is an hour.
All right. So you're asking for what, Mr. Greer?
I'm just asking for friend of the court parenting time. With this child's age, it would be on a Sunday, I believe, in the afternoon. And it goes from noon until like 5 or 6 of, maybe for a couple of weeks of unsupervised, it could be less, and we'll go from there. I don't see that he needs supervised for more than what he's had. He already had like 5 months of it.
Mr. Miller, response?
Yeah, Judge, I mean, that in a perfect world, I'd understand what Mr. Greer is saying. The problem is that this has not been a perfect world. I spoke to Ms. Mensch previously. It's been a little bit since I talked to her, but the last interaction I had, there was concerns because Mr. Lash continued to, despite a court order saying otherwise, and I believe from my conversations with his own attorney, tried to basically push having his other child basically at these parenting time visits. In fact, at least one of them was canceled because he showed up and Ms. Mensch said, that's not basically what's going to happen. I know that was rocky for a while. I believe since the other child has been coming, I think at least the last time I talked to Ms. Mensch, it sounded like there was some problems with that child interacting with the minor child of Ms. Lenski's. And then the most concerning thing, Judge, that we can't just basically, vet this out in a review hearing, is that, I've got some social media things that Mr. Lash has posted for the world to see, basically, essentially, that are making, suicidal ideations. I've got concerns about Mr. Lash's, mental health. And so, I think without hearing from Ms. Mensch and without looking more into these posts that he's got and what the status of his mental health is, I think that's a concern.
Any response, Mr. Greer?
Your Honor, and I hate to use this because nobody has it except for me, but reading the summaries that she put in there, it doesn't seem like it's been going poorly, but they're only from like April. So, I'll just send them out. Mark can look at, or Mr. Miller can look at them later this afternoon, and I don't know anything about social media posts. I've always encouraged my people to not use it at all. So, but they never listen. So I would, I don't know what ones he's referring to. I have, so I can tell you this. Dan Lash has always seemed fine to me. So I don't get the impression he's suicidal or anything. I don't know what he's writing on social media. So,
first of all, I want to apologize to you guys. This is not where I wanted to be. 5 months in, Not certainly where any of my staff wants to be 5 months in. That it was the perfect storm, and unfortunately for Mr. Lash and to a certain extent Ms. Linsky, it's caused a pause on this case, which is not good for either one of you or the child. You know, closure and moving to the next chapter is important. I can talk all these flowy words all I want, and it doesn't really help the fact that there was a delay and we had some sicknesses here. We had some COVID in some of our staff. We've had you name it, and that's not an excuse, but it is a reason, and I apologize. So, and I know Ms. Minch is probably you know, causing a lot of cost in addition to just the aggravation of having supervised and having to work around her schedule as well. With that being said,
Your Honor, if I may interrupt,
yes.
my client, it says on the summary that he's paid for every visit, so he's paid up to date for these visits.
And I know, yeah, and I appreciate that's, you know, not easy either, no matter what you're doing for a living. So this is the thing. I agree with Mr. Miller in that I'm not just ready to just say you get X, Y, or Z. I agree that it's been a long time that he's been supervised, and I'm warning Ms. Lash, or Ms. Linsky, that, you know, this case may get transferred, but the reality is that he's eventually going to have parenting time with that child. And so you guys need to find a way to figure out how to make that work where everybody can trust each other and feel safe and secure. But for the meantime, the court will increase his parenting time up to 3 times a week. And I would tell you that he could utilize the Center for Hope and Healing that's here in White Cloud. They are also doing some supervised parenting time. It may be that they will be willing to do for longer increments. I'm not sure, but it may help with the scheduling to get him in another day. So 3 days, so up to 3 days a week. And then we'll move to the motion to transfer, Ms.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Let me have Ms. Wendy, and then I'll hear from you again. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you,
Ms.
Your Honor.
Rose.
The Nuevo County Front of the Court moves today to transfer this case's venue, the Circuit Court Clerk venue, and also the Friend of the Court case to Mecosta County to prevent any appearance of impropriety for either one of the parties. This case has been, as you pointed out, Your Honor, ongoing. However, in January and then also again in March, one of the parties' relatives, who is a previous employee to our office, reached out to a staff member, a current staff member, after hours using social media, which would be inappropriate. The concern is that obviously that person, being a previous employee, would understand that that is something that cannot be done. I would never want the parties to feel in any way that there would be any even appearance or thought in anyone's mind that we would be talking to a person that is not a party on the case. And for that reason, and just for the fairness of having both parties be able to feel that that there is nothing going on outside of what should be going on, we have reached out to first Oceana. Unfortunately, Oceana, after the order was approved to transfer it, was not able to take the case. I did speak with Mecosta County. They're happy to take the case. Mr. Lash already has another case in Mecosta County, so he should be familiar with how Mecosta County handles their cases. So that would probably be helpful. And again, we apologize for the delay due to the inability to transfer to Oceana. I apologize for the delay, again, as Judge stated, due to obstacles, I will say obstacles and challenges that were beyond our control. However, I do think this is in the party's best interest and in the Friend of the Court's best interest, just to make sure that we don't have any appearance or any belief that anything inappropriate is occurring.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Greer, I know you've heard this argument before, although it be for a different county to transfer it to. Anything else you want to tell me today?
I would just say, Judge, for the record, my understanding is the parties really didn't want to transfer, so it seems kind of silly to me to be transferring it to another county, which creates hardship and inconvenience to both parties. Unless I'm mistaken, I thought that Mr. Lash's other case was out of Oceana County, not Mecosta County, but maybe there's another case I'm not aware of. But again, my client opposed this, but it's up to the court what it decides to do.
Mr.
Your Honor, if
Greer?
I may, I find it troubling that because a relative reached out to somebody on social media, my client is suffering. He didn't encourage her to do that. I mean, I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, a third party can now do something to change the front of the court's ability to handle this thing. It's ridiculous. You know, I mean, this thing has been, you know, batting back and forth for months, and the two attorneys that are involved in it, as well as the participants, don't want it transferred. So obviously they're not worried about impropriety. And what somebody does on social media on their own time is not the attorneys or the participants or the court's situation. My client asked him, put him under oath. He didn't encourage whoever the relative was to contact anybody or to do anything. I don't understand it. To me, it's overkill. It's ridiculous. So that's my opinion.
Appreciate that. And I understand the frustration. Certainly, every case is looked at as on a case-by-case basis. And in this situation, the court feels it's in everyone's best interest. I want to make sure everybody thinks it's fair and also gets it fair. I mean, I would be fair, but I'm not sure that once I made some decisions, everyone there would not wonder if it was because X, Y, or Z. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm going to transfer it to Makasta. Again, I can't say I'm sorry enough. That doesn't do anybody any good to make up time that's lost, but I hope that you can get some resolution quickly. The court's going to transfer it to Makasti, and we'll get it over there as quick as we can. We're adjourned.
I think somebody had something.
Yes, I had something to say.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Lash. I told you I would. Go ahead, sir.
So I have two things to say is, am I allowed to bring, my daughter has met my son one time. That's it. Is she allowed to come at all?
So, Mr. Miller, it seems in your next when you were commenting that maybe you had come to some agreement about the other child being there. Is that true, or what's your client's position on that?
Yeah, I don't know that I agreed to it. You know, I haven't had a chance to go through these notes that Mr. Ger's staff did email over. You know, I don't want to basically have the court take this as gospel, what I'm saying. But I thought that there was more than one occasion that the other child was there. I do know from my discussions that I absolutely do know that Ms. Mensch's position was very clear that parenting time is for Mr. Lash to build a bond with the child. And Mr. Lash repeatedly tried to show up with the other child. Like I said, on at least one occasion, the parenting time was canceled because he showed up with the child when Ms. Mensch told him not to show up with the child. And so he keeps wanting to incorporate everything else instead of building a relationship besides the one child. You know, I think there's two people that can dictate this. I think, you know, the court and Ms. Mensch as the professional doing the supervision, being that she is a licensed counselor. So, you know, Judge, I'll leave it up to you, but I do know my last discussion, I didn't think we were really going to get into much today, which is why I didn't expend my client's attorney fees to follow up with Ms. Mensch. But I know that was a concern in the last conversation that I had with her.
So,
maybe,
Mr. Lash, yeah. So, Mr. Lash, my typical response is that parenting time is for you to build the bond, to become reacquainted, whatever situation it is. Typically, I would not allow siblings to come. As that parenting time progresses, I've been known to change that. You have two little ones, and so I would think it would be hard or harder to really give full attention to the little one that you're doing the supervised parenting time for with the other one there. So at this point, I'm going to say that she cannot come to that parenting time, but that once you get to Makasta, that judge can do whatever he or she wants.
Your Honor,
Okay.
may I interject? If
Sure.
this wasn't supervised parenting, which it probably has been dragged out so long that due to unforeseen circumstances, I guess, to be polite, if this wasn't this child, this other child who's like, I think 6 or 7, would be bonding with this little boy. And so I don't understand what the problem is after 6 months of however many he's had of supervised parenting. He can't bring the child's sibling with him. I don't get it. You know something? I guess I think I'm so out of touch that I don't understand it, because if this was just the normal case that didn't get swept up in some former employee's thing, he would be bonding with this child. The little boy would be bonding with the girl. I don't.
That's
No,
that, and
but
that,
now we
and
can't
this
do
is,
that
this is
either.
my, this is my reasoning, not that I have to give it, but these
How do
people
you
are
put-
doing
you don't have to
parenting
give it to
time.
me.
These people are doing parenting time in a public, essentially, office. I have no idea what that setup is. It is completely different to be in a home setting with your 6-year-old and your 3-year-old and being able to watch them and bond with them and know what is safe and know where the hazards are. Know that they can go to the bathroom by themselves, so you don't have to go with them. Know this, know that. I don't know what this setup is, and that's not my goal to be able to watch out for a 6-year-old. My goal in this case is to watch out for this baby. Mr. Lash, anything else?
Yeah, if I had any mental health issues, why do I have 50-50 legal and physical custody of a single daughter?
I don't know. You can ask the judge that's sitting in that case, because I don't have that case either. I'm only here on this case. We're
Okay,
adjourned.
I still want to talk, Your Honor.
Mr. Lash, these issues are not up for today. You had a review hearing that I've already ruled on and a transfer that I've ruled on.
Your Honor, it's been 122 days.
Dan, the judge has ended the meeting. You show respect.